From the heart of the Space City to the heart of Gen Z, welcome to Next Gen Conversation. Not Dad's Talk Radio. Ethan talks to you about the issues and events that matter to our generation. This is the Next Gen Report with Ethan Buchanan.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Oh, man. What a great day. There's a whole lot going on. There's a whole lot we're going to get to. But before I do that, I just want to say thank you for tuning in. If you just happen to be listening in your car right now to AM 950 KPRC, good afternoon. Please stay right here. I've got a great show ready for you. I can't wait to get to it. We have had so much fantastic progress in this show over the last several months. As of right now, I think we're officially the scheduled show in this time slot on Wednesdays, which is just fantastic. If you look at the KPRC website, I believe we are the show that's displayed as being scheduled as in this time. That's just awesome. I have such a great time being in this slot with you instead of just doing the Sunday evening show. If you've heard the Sunday evening show and that's why you tuned in here, fantastic again. Thank you for listening to both shows. If you want to go back and hear the Sunday show, @ Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan on X. That's where you can find all my stuff. Everything I do is right there on X. It's real easy to find. It's real convenient. It's all in one spot. All right, and now one other thing that I want to make sure to mention is one of the reasons that I'm able to be in this time slot, one of the reasons that I'm now, I believe, officially the Wednesday at 2 p.m. show right here on AM 950 KPRC is because of my fantastic sponsor, Deus Volt Lapel Pins. Listen, there's a lot going on in the world, and I think right about now it's really important to define yourself, all right? I define myself as an American Christian. That's who I believe I am. That's what's most important to me is the United States of America and my Christian faith. If you want to make sure that you're defined, go check out DeusVoltLapelPins.com. They have got lapel pins that represent exactly that. Christian heritage, American heritage. They've even got other things too. Maybe you don't wear suit jackets, all right? So you have no reason for a lapel pin, all right? They've got bumper stickers for a whole bunch of different states that will represent your state heritage or Christian heritage well. They've also got neckties. Everybody at some point or another has a reason to wear a necktie. They've got a handful of different leather goods that you should check out. There's a lot of fantastic stuff on this website, and there's more being added all the time. So DeusVoltLapelPins.com. If you see something on there you want to order, use promo code NEXTPIN2026. You'll get 10% off. And listen, this isn't expensive stuff. You're not going to be spending $20 on anything on this website unless you buy a bunch of stuff. You know, $3 for a bumper sticker, $6 for a lapel pin. It's good stuff, guys. Check it out. DeusVoltLapelPins.com. Use promo code NEXTPIN2026. Let them know that you're a fan of the Next Gen Report. That helps me get on the air more times and more places. So I'd really appreciate it if you check them out. Support the sponsors that make this show possible. Now, before we get to all the other stuff, Carmelo Anthony, everything going on in the UK right now, I want to talk about the Iran war. I've kind of put this on the back burner recently just because nothing's really been happening. Like, nothing's going on. Except every few minutes we'll just throw some rockets around the Middle East and then call it a day. And then we'll go back to a week and a half to 2 weeks of just nothing. What are we doing? What's going on? Now, I've made my position on this very clear, and I've been fairly consistent on it. I really don't care what we do as long as we don't get drawn into another forever situation. If we want to just go and quickly and efficiently execute a couple of military goals in the Middle East and in and out 20-minute adventure, that's fine. That's okay with me. I don't care. However, the closer and closer we get to being in some long, drawn-out 20-year forever war, the less and less I like it. This has been my position the entire time. Listen, I'm a big Trump fan. I like Trump. I like what we did in, what's that country? The one with the oil. Venezuela. Good grief. How did I forget that? Venezuela. We went in there real quick, grabbed Maduro, got out. It's perfect. Perfect operation. I love it. As long as the stuff we're doing is kind of like that, Trump has my blessing to do whatever the hell he wants. However, it's starting to seem like we're just kind of stuck in a rut with really no off-ramp here in Iran, and I don't want that. So just to catch you up, in case this kind of became white noise for you like it did for me and you tuned it out, here is the latest updates. Basically, Israel and Iran threw a couple of missiles at each other because that's just what they do. We're in the middle of negotiations and they just start shooting at each other. Nobody really knows why. I think Israel was shooting at Lebanon and Iran didn't like that. So they started shooting at Israel and Israel started shooting back at them and la-di-da-di-da. So after that, Trump basically said, hey, both of you guys pipe down. And they were like, okay, we'll stop. Great, perfect, fantastic. They're great peacemaker. Then what happened after that, for reasons that I can't sort out, it doesn't seem like anybody really knows, Iran just shot down one of our Blackhawks. Now, thank God none of our soldiers were hurt at all, but they shot down one of our Black Hawk helicopters. So we fired a couple of missiles at them. Great. So where does that leave the ceasefire? Where does that leave the negotiations? Now what? And let's say this doesn't hurt the ceasefire because who knows at this point? I mean, there's really no standard for what does or does not break the ceasefire anymore. Like, we'll throw some missiles at each other and then 30 minutes later, oh, we're done. Ceasefire's back. Great. We're still negotiating. Perfect. How long are we going to do this for? What is the end game? What is the goal? The goal is they pledge not to have a nuclear weapon. Okay, fine. How are we going to get them to do that? And if we can't, then at that point, let's just go back to the way things were, where, every 10 years or so, we just bomb the hell out of them to make sure they can't get one. Because that seems to be, honestly, the most realistic option. Like, let's do whatever we have to do to get the Strait of Hormuz open and flowing. Whatever we need to hit, whatever we need to destroy, to make sure that Iran has no capacity to close the Strait of Hormuz, let's hit that. Do whatever we got to do. Maybe we're ferrying ships through with our Navy for a while. I don't care. Get the Strait of Hormuz open. And then, every 6 months, we'll just carpet bomb the coastline to make sure they don't try to close it again. And then every 10 years or so, if we have to, we'll go destroy some nuclear facility. But at some point, we either have to have a peace deal or just wipe every single aspect of that country's governance off the face of the earth. Because it's becoming increasingly clear to me, and it should be to everyone else, that I don't think these guys are ever just going to sign a piece of paper we give them. So let's just remove them from being a problem at all. Bomb their power plants, bomb every single government building they have, and let the Iranian people sort out the mess. That's where I'm at right now. All right, we got a lot more coming up. We'll be right back in just a moment. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Once again, I want to ask you to go check out my Twitter page at _Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Somebody mentioned that to me. Hey, you still call it Twitter? I call it whatever, man. I don't care about the name. I don't respect the transition. I don't respect the transition of most people. I'm not going to respect the transition of a social media website. No, I'm just kidding. It's just hard to break the habit. That's all it is. That's all it is. So I use both interchangeably, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Go follow me at _Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. I said this on the last Wednesday show. I'm going to say it again. Twitter is increasingly becoming a very important tool for people who want to find information that the powers that be want hidden. Now, those powers that be could be the mainstream media. It could be various world governments. In the UK right now, it is the government. We have, once again, thanks to Twitter, another case of a violent attack by a native European, this time in Northern Ireland. So it's technically still part of the UK, but he was an Irishman who was attacked by a third world immigrant, nearly beheaded. And once again, we only have the video. We only know about this because of Twitter. Because the video was caught, it was posted on Twitter. This is a video that I'm sure, if they could have gotten away with it, the mainstream media in the UK, the BBC, which is super woke left, They wouldn't have covered it. The British government has no interest in covering this because they've sold out to immigrants. They have sold out their own people, their own land, to the very same immigrants that are committing this crime. So they don't want this video out there, but thanks to X being a free speech platform, it is out there. We do have it. And again, I'm not paid by X. I don't make any money off of X. I'm on X for the love of the game. All right? So this is by no means a paid endorsement. I'm not shilling for them. I really do believe in my heart of hearts that you should be on this platform if you want to know things that they, and by they I mean the government, the media, whoever, they don't want you to know. Get on X. And while you're there, follow me, @_Ethan Buchanan, Buchanan. All right, so let's dig into this case. I'm not going to play you the video. I'm just not. I've seen the video. I've watched the video. It's too much. All right? I take a lot of leeway here because I really just don't care. I'm not in this for the money, so I don't care if YouTube demonetizes me. And as long as I censor the F-bombs, you can play basically whatever you want on the radio. But this is just too graphic even for me, and I have a pretty high tolerance for this stuff. So I'm not going to play the video, but I will read you the CBS News article about it. Brutal stabbing attack in Belfast sparks calls for anti-immigration protests in Northern Ireland. All right, fair enough. That's pretty much what happened. They're still calling it a stabbing. It wasn't a stabbing. It was an attempted beheading that was only just stopped by some very brave Irish folk. Praise God. But here we go. Northern Ireland police said Tuesday that they had detained a man over what British Prime Minister Keir Starmer called a sickening stabbing attack in Belfast. Graphic video of the incident was shared online by figures on the far right of British politics who have called for mass anti-immigration protests. That's immediately what they're highlighting here. It was shared online by people on the far right of politics who are calling for anti-immigration protests. How terrible of them. They immediately blow right past the fact that a third worlder almost beheaded a man in the middle of the street. They're concerned about what the far right might do in response. Something tells me, and maybe it's just my darn moral compass at it again, but something tells me that the fact that third worlders are attempting to behead the native populace of Ireland in the street is kind of a bigger deal than the native populace getting upset about it. Maybe that's just me being a radical right-winger. Maybe I'm just crazy. But I think someone trying to behead you is a bigger deal than you being upset about it. But you're not allowed to be upset about it, because that might make the immigrants look bad. And gosh darn it, we don't want to be racist. We cannot be racist. We gotta let them cut our heads off. Otherwise, the woke left might get mad at us. Screw it. No, be mad that they're trying to cut your heads off. This is your goddamn country. You're Irish people. That's Ireland. That's yours. How many times have we as white people around the world been told that we're evil, evil, evil? Because we colonized various nations and we did all these horrible things to all these native populations. And then we're supposed to just let it happen to us all over the world. If illegal aliens want to come into the United States and destroy our country, we're supposed to just let it happen because we did it to the Native Americans, right? We're so evil for that, huh? So just let it happen to you. And then for no measurable reason, the Irish have gotten caught up in this. What did the Irish do to anyone, ever? Nothing. All they've done for their entire world history is get abused by the British. And now they're supposed to just accept the fact that Sudanese third worlders are immigrating en masse and literally decapitating them in the streets. I won't play you the video, but for those of you that are watching the recording, here's the picture. Now, it's censored, of course, but you can see the Sudanese man straddling this Irish guy, holding the knife up, and his head is all bloodied. His entire body is all bloodied because he's been slashing about at his throat with a knife. Now, it's my understanding that this man was rescued and survived. Again, praise God. But why in the world should anyone be expected to tolerate that? Why in the world is a culture that allows that and excuses that supposed to be allowed in a European nation like Ireland, a beautiful European nation like Ireland. And make no mistake, this is the culture. This is the culture of Islam. And we can draw distinctions about radical Islam or Islamists or what have you, but at the end of the day, that's where it all leads, every single time. With a few exceptions where they just give up on the core principles of Sharia law in order to make money off the oil industry, like in Saudi Arabia. And you know what? That's fine in their countries. It's clear that European Christian culture and Muslim culture just don't mix well. We've been trying it for 30 years, and it hasn't worked yet. It just hasn't. Just to make the case that this is indeed the culture of Islam. This is something that I just happened to scroll by while I was digging into all of this. This is a video of what appears to be Muslim teenagers or Middle Eastern teenagers, or maybe 20-something years olds, at least Middle Eastern heritage, reenacting a beheading, a mock beheading, right in front of Big Ben. And it looks like they've just grabbed this poor white guy. He seems to be truly in fear. I don't know if he's in on the bit or if they just grabbed him and made him do it. But listen to this. He's terrified.
Allahu Akbar. What do I say? What do I say? Hey, put him on the hat. Put him on the deen. Put him on the deen. What do I see? All black. All black. Oh, all right, we're done. We're done. Oh.
And then the police show up. Arrest him. But you can hear, what do I say? What do I say? What do I do? Please don't cut my head off. We've seen this time and time again. How many videos are out there from Christian missionaries or aid workers or what have you that are in Muslim countries that have been captured and beheaded? That's what they were reenacting. I don't think a culture that thinks that's a fine, funny joke to do in the middle of the street for everyone to see should be allowed to participate in the Western world. Go to the Middle East. Go do that in the Middle East. We don't want that in Europe. We don't want that in European Christian nations like the United States. And it should be fine to say that. These cultures don't mix, and they don't have to. If you want to have a Muslim country, go have it in a Muslim country. Don't try to bring your Muslim country into Christian nations that don't share your values. And then, when you find out that those Christian nations don't share your values, don't try to force them to. Don't try to go on this jihadi campaign. And that's what we keep seeing out of Muslim immigrants. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more of the Next Gen Report in just a second. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're still talking about Ireland. We're going to get to Carmelo Anthony in a second. He has been convicted. He has been sentenced. Praise God. We will dig into all of that, but I want to keep talking about what's going on in the UK right now because, again, this is characteristic of something that we're seeing all across the Western world. And it's happening here in the United States. It's happening in the UK. It's happening everywhere. People of color are expected and allowed to and excused for uniting together as an ethnic group or collection of ethnic groups and pursuing their own interests. And white people, European people, are not only expected to do the opposite, they're actually considered to be bad people if they don't do the opposite. White people are expected to completely ignore our own interests, our own heritage, while black people, brown people, all over the world are expected to unite as an ethnic group, even to the extent that they excuse murder. Now, we've seen this play out in the United States. Now, thank God our Constitution, our system of justice is strong enough that when that happens, even in cases like the Carmelo Anthony case, justice is still done. there's a cohort of black people out there, and it's not all black people by any means. Don't take that from what I'm saying. But there is a significant cohort of black people that will rally in support of Carmelo Anthony, even when it is very clearly obvious that he murdered a child. And we talked about this case months ago, and we'll talk about it again in a few minutes. But when it first happened, even then, I said, it looks like he just murdered this kid. And now we know that is what happened. He's been convicted. Now, by that same token, in the UK, we have leftist politicians that will sell out their own country, sell out their own people, let hordes of third world invaders come in, and if the Irish people get upset about it, even when the Irish people are getting murdered, or the English people, or any other group of European people, if you get upset about the fact that Europeans are being murdered in the streets of their own home countries, that's the problem. Because that's divisive. No. Ignore the fact that we've got Sikhs stabbing innocent British boys in the street. Ignore the fact that we have Sudanese nationals that are attempting beheadings of the Irish in Belfast. You're not supposed to be upset about that. I'll show you an example of this. Here is a report. This is from some Belfast news station, or English or UK or whatever. It's local. This aired yesterday. And it's covering the protests that are now going on in Belfast as a result of this attempted beheading. Take a listen to this.
On the outskirts of North Belfast, several hundred people gathered at the Clockfern roundabout. After the speeches, 200 masked men broke away and marched into the White Abbey estate. The group then made its way along this road and stopped at this property here on Abbeyville Street. They proceeded to stone every window in the property and threw wheelie bins through the bottom windows. I spoke to a woman across the road. She said that the complex had been used to house asylum seekers and immigrants. She said that the whole ordeal of watching people come down this road and attack the house was terrifying. Off Belfast Newtonards Road, it was a glider bus that was targeted. Set on fire, crowds gathered as smoke billowed across the east of the city. A few hundred metres away, 2 cars were set alight on McMaster Street. When it was not cars or buses, they chose burning bins to block the streets. On the Crumlin Road, more bins and more fires. Back at the Clockfern roundabout, the crowds returned. 2 burning cars now made the road impassable. Ita Dungan, BBC Newsline in Newton Abbey.
There it is, BBC News. That's who it was. Now, obviously this sounds bad. This sounds like a full-on riot, right? It's almost reminiscent of the BLM riots. And so maybe you think back to the BLM riots. Remember that every mainstream media outlet, both in the United States and globally, time after time after time, actually excused the BLM riots when they did the same things over much less noble a cause. Much less noble. And I've drawn the comparisons last week, talking about Henry Noack to George Floyd. People both in the United States and around the world were expected to just accept the fact that black people in the United States and around the world were angry about George Floyd, and they didn't feel like they were being listened to, so they were going to burn things. They were going to destroy stuff. And that was fine, and that was excused, and we're supposed to just let them express their anger. We heard this line all the time. Think back. I know it was 6 years ago, but it's not that long. Chances are you were there, or you heard it. You watched it, just like I did. And now, when essentially the same thing happens in Belfast, except to a much more real degree. Again, these are cases in Belfast and in England where an actual violent crime was committed against an actual innocent person by an actual third world invader. And yet, you're not allowed to be mad at all. And there's really no political recourse for you either. And normally that's what I would say your recourse needs to be. Here in the United States, I would say we vote for change because we can do that in the United States of America. We have a political party that looked at the violence that was rampant across the country as a direct result of massive amounts of third world and illegal immigration and said, we're not going to tolerate this. We're going to do something about it. And we were able to go to the polls and we were able to elect that person. We had a candidate that had money behind him and high name recognition. He could put his name on the ballot and he had just as good a shot at being the president as anybody else. And he won and he fixed it. Praise God for that. They don't have that system in England or in Ireland or Northern Ireland. They just don't. Here are the people that are representing them now. Belfast Live put this out. New Belfast mayor highlights drive toward diversity in the city. My upbringing has shown me that everyone deserves to be and must be treated equally. I want a Belfast that does in word and action no matter what your background is. So basically, I'm going to look out for the illegal aliens, the refugees, quote unquote, that are just showing up, the Muslims that are now attempting to behead and murder the native population of Great Britain and Ireland. Now, there is a counter message from another politician or figurehead, I guess. Conor McGregor, the famous MMA fighter, ban immigration from the third world. Help them from where they are, as we have done over the years, so many times beautifully and nobly. They cannot be here any longer. That's a very reasonable position for someone to take in Ireland, in Irish politics. Here's the problem. Conor McGregor has run for president of Ireland. He cannot become the president of Ireland because to run for president in any official capacity, for your name to be on the ballot, you have to be nominated by other politicians. You have to have people that already hold political office in Ireland nominate you to be on the ticket, as I understand it. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but it's my understanding that that's how their system works, which means they have no recourse because he's the only person that I've seen actually pitching that message of, hey, let's just stop letting these people that want to kill us into our country. And he can't even get on the ballot because the powers that be don't want him there. And so the obvious response is situations like this, where in Belfast, you have people that went to the government-owned property that is being used to house third world illegal aliens, and they just set it on fire. Now, it's my understanding that no one was actually injured in this. They didn't, burn anyone alive, as far as I'm aware. This did only happen yesterday, so maybe some more information could come out. But this is one building that they've set on fire, and this is inexcusable. Explain to me how at all this is different in substance from the George Floyd protests and riots that we were all expected to just accept because black people in the United States were angry. Again, that was the line. I remember it. You do too. You were there. That's what we were told. Black people are angry. You have to let them be angry. We have to let the city burn. We have to let Los Angeles burn, New York, Chicago, Detroit, Kenosha, what have you, whatever city. We just have to let it burn because black people are angry. And they have no recourse. Their government isn't listening to them. How is what's happening in Belfast any different? The Irish people have not been listened to. The English people have not been listened to. They don't want this. They don't want to be murdered by third world invaders. But when they unite together to preserve their interests, it's bad. Why? Why is there a double standard? We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. One last time, I want to ask you, go follow me on X, @_Ethan Buchanan, Buchan. And again, why I'm asking you to do this is because I really truly believe in my heart of hearts that being informed, especially about things that people don't want you to be informed about, is incredibly important. And I do believe that X is the best place to do that. Again, we would not know who Henry Nowak is if it wasn't for X. We would not know about this case out of Belfast if it wasn't for X. We would not know about a lot of things that are going on and are very important in our culture, in our global community, etc., if it were not for X. All right. So I think X is an important place for people who want to be informed to be. I think everyone should want to be informed. And while you're being informed, I think I provide good content. So if you disagree, you don't have to follow me. But if you've heard me, you're interested in me, you're interested in hearing more of me, that's where you go to check it out. @_Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. And hey, you can even go to our sponsor, Deus Volt lapel pins from X. You can find their products right there. It's real easy to do. So all wrapped up into one. And again, that promo code is NEXTPIN2026 to get 10% off your order from DeusVoltLapelPins.com. All right. And now, listen, if you listen to my last segment and you came away with Ethan Buchanan wants me to go riot and burn things down every time I think that I've been wronged and I have no other recourse, you're not paying attention. What I want you to take away from this is there is a double standard. People of color are expected and excused to basically just do whatever they want whenever they get angry. In American society, Western European society, all across the world. And again, George Floyd, perfect example. But while we're at it, how many other different BLM cases, Trayvon Martin, whatever, any of these cases where we're told, oh, some person of color, some black person has been killed by police brutality or whatever. Every single time, so far as I'm aware of, it's been a lie. Every single time, BLM, Antifa, whatever you want to call it, the radical left, they all got together, united, and rioted. And every single time we were supposed to just accept it. That is a double standard. When white people in England and Ireland riot because they're tired of getting murdered by third world invaders, it's a problem. But it's not a problem for black people all over the world, but especially here in the United States, to riot over literally made-up slights. That double standard is an issue. It's something I have a problem with. You should have a problem with it too. Now, this all came about in an interesting way in the Carmelo Anthony case. Now, the good news here is, as News Nation reports, Carmelo Anthony has been sentenced to 35 years for the Austin Metcalf murder. Now, I am of the opinion that this is too light of a sentence. I've made my position on criminal justice clear multiple times on this show. If you take a human life unjustly, if you murder someone, you should be executed. That is the just penalty for murder. I believe that. I think anything short of that is devaluing the human life, frankly. If you murder someone, you should be executed for that. That should be death penalty every single time. However, I understand that I'm not the executive dictator of the United States and I don't get to make the rules. And under the rules, actually, this is more of a sentence than I expected Carmelo Anthony to get. 35 years is more than I expected. After the news broke that he actually got convicted, I expected he would get maybe 20 years. But the fact that he got 35 is, you know what? I'll take it. I'm not necessarily happy with that, but I accept it as the verdict of the jury. So, fair enough. Now, what I want to talk about in this case is the tribalism that we've seen the entire time. Now, I said at the very beginning of this case, it looks like Carmelo Anthony just murdered Austin Metcalf. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in court. Go back and watch the show. Go dig through it. It's on X. If it's not on X, it's on podcasts. I said at the time, we'll see what happens, but I think Carmelo Anthony is guilty of murder. Now, there is a subset of black people in the United States and around the world that didn't even want to entertain the fact that Carmelo Anthony could have possibly been guilty, and even now that he's been convicted, refused to entertain that as a possibility. He is innocent just by virtue of being a black man in a society that allegedly oppresses black men. Is there any evidence of that? No. But that's the allegation. And so Carmelo Anthony can do no wrong. If he stabbed Austin Metcalf somehow deserved it. Except we now know that he did stab Austin Metcalf. And according to a jury of Carmelo Anthony's peers, he didn't deserve it either. Nevertheless, black people are still protesting outside the courthouse. This is from yesterday. This is footage from yesterday. Just take a listen to these protesters chanting outside the courthouse.
Carmelo! What's his name? Carmelo! What's his name? Carmelo! Say his name! Carmelo! What's his name? Carmelo! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Yeah!
What's his name? Carmelo. Say his name. Carmelo. What do we want? Justice. Say his name. Carmelo. If you just listened to that, if I just played you that and you had no idea who Carmelo Anthony was, you would assume that this is just another one of those cases of alleged police brutality. You would have assumed that Carmelo was the victim of some horrific violence, and you would be forgiven for thinking that because this is exactly how this segment of the radical left of the black community in America, this is how they behave every single time literally anything happens. Every single time. And it's excused every single time. Every single time. Name me a case where this was not excused and then 1,000 times more. If these people went out from this courthouse where they're protesting, burned down a convenience store, and said, we did this because we want justice and we're not going to give you peace until we get justice, you would have members of the left, elected officials, and in the mainstream media that would say, well, they feel like they've been victims. They feel like they're unheard. And so, of course, they're going to lash out. And they'll be excused. They'll be patted on the back. Now, again, Carmelo Anthony is not a victim of any damn thing whatsoever. He murdered a person. And that's not alleged. That's not a hypothetical. It's not like we don't know. We know. We saw the evidence. A jury heard the evidence. They convicted him. We know this happened. Carmelo Anthony murdered a boy, a white boy. That's worth pointing out too. Because again, this is always made about race by these people, and they're always expected to be allowed to go as far with the racial narrative as they want. And the contrast here is in Europe, where if the native white population of Europe is literally being murdered and attacked viciously by radical Muslims and third world immigrants in the UK, in the Ireland, wherever, white people are not allowed to get upset about that. They're not allowed to unite around each other. They're not allowed to push for their own interests. Whereas in the United States, when a person of color murders a white person, very clearly so. Again, it took the jury 3 hours to convict Carmelo Anthony. That means there was no doubt in anyone's mind. The evidence was clear. Regardless, he's the victim. The black community rallies around him, and they're allowed to do that. They're expected to do that. It's excused. That's what we have to be calling out here. That is a problem. It is. It is a problem. People on the left say we don't want division. That's where the division comes from. Don't tell me you don't want division when you're stoking it. I'm Ethan Buchanan. This has been the Next Gen Report. We will be back on Sunday. Thank you very much for listening. You can find me on X @_Ethan Buchanan, BUCHANAN. I encourage you to follow me there.